Bonjour classe, aujourd'hui on va parler de quatre verbes très irréguliers. It is a category of verbs that we call modal verbs, which I'm sure you've heard of and you just can't wait. Commençons. So first of all, check out these five verbs. I've got can, may, swim, want, and should. Which one jumps out at you as kind of not belonging with the rest? Hopefully swim is the one that jumps out at you. And the reason is that swim is the verb that, in our minds really indicates an action. There are still verbs, but swimming is very something you can see, something that's, obviously involves active motion. These other four verbs, while they are still verbs, they don't quite have that action that we would see in a verb like swim. So let's keep going. Something to keep in mind as we talk about our modal verbs. So what a modal verb does, it expresses the mood of a verb, something like ability, possibility, conditions, and necessity. Most of the time in English, they're unconjugated, which means they really just have one form. I can walk, and can really never changes. We can walk, she can walk, I can walk. Another example, we may go to the store, you may go, I may go, he may go. They should listen, we should listen, I should listen. These verbs don't ever change their form, which is all fine and dandy in English, but as you can imagine, it's a little different in French. So these verbs in French are conjugated and they always need to match their subject, just like any other verb that we are used to. Our four verbs are vouloir, to want, pouvoir, to be able to, devoir, to have to, and falloir, to be necessary. You might notice that all four of them you can see here are followed by they end in OIR. However, they're not going to follow our IR verb pattern because that would just be too easy. Another reason we clump these verbs together is because they are all followed by infinitives if there happens to be another verb in the sentence. So for example, I want to go to the movies. He is able to speak French. They have to finish their homework. So let's jump into our verbs, and here's our first one, vouloir. Please listen very carefully to the pronunciation and try to repeat after me because the pronunciation is not easy and you need some practice. Starting with vouloir expresses strong will or desire. Je veux, tu veux, il veut. Remember that EU is a sound. Nous voulons, vous voulez, ils veulent. That last one is very difficult. Now, you can kind of consider this a boot verb if you take a look here. EU, 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 EU. They follow this boot-like pattern. The nu and the vu form are kind of different because the OUL, it looks a lot more like the infinitive up here. Past participle we actually already know is voulu. So a couple things about vouloir. It can stand by itself or you can have an infinitive with it. Je veux sortir would mean I want to go out. Je ne veux pas, I do not want to. And like I said, it follows that boot. And we know vouloir best as je voudrais, I would like. Alright, verb number 2 is pouvoir, to be able to be permitted to allow. Here it goes. Je peux, tu peux, il peut. So notice this really looks exactly like vouloir, except we have P's instead of V's. Nous pouvons, vous pouvez. So here we've got the OUV that looks like our infinitive, the POUV. Our last one, ils peuvent. So again, check it out. We've got the boot here, EU, 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 and EU, with our new and full form standing out. Past participle, we know, j'ai pu. Here are some things about pouvoir. It follows the boot, like we said, and just like veut, it can stand alone or it can be followed by an infinitive. Je peux sortir, I'm able to go out. Je ne peux pas, I cannot. Devoir is a little different from vouloir and pouvoir. We're going to check it out. It expresses obligation, something you have to do, because for example, your devoir is something you have to do. Probability, supposition, and it also means to owe, like if you owe somebody money. That's a little different. So the verb is je dois, tu dois, il doit. Remember that OI sound makes a wa. devant, devait. Again, the DEV comes from our infinitive up here. Ils doivent. So do you see the boot again? Hopefully you do. OI, 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 OI in that shoe format. And past participle, we already know, j'ai dû. It follows the boot, just like our other two verbs. It could be mean to O when it's followed by a noun. So here's an example. Tu dois étudier, you have to study. Tu me dois 10 euros, you owe me 10 euros. I think your last verb falloir is going to be your favorite, and the reason is it only has one form. It only exists in the il form, il faut. And this means it is necessary. So for example, il faut avoir une réservation. It is necessary to have a reservation. The past participle, in case you were wondering, is fallu, but once again, it would only exist in the il form. So il a fallu, it was necessary. So those are your modal verbs, and this is kind of upsetting because if I were to have you translate, you can already see the answers. But here are some sentences for you to take a look at, and hopefully you will start to get to the hang of these verbs very soon. Please notice patterns. Share in class with us things that help you remember these verbs because they're not easy and we're throwing 4 at you at a time. But it is necessary to really go back, slow down, memorize these verbs form and how they are pronounced. Ok class, on se revoit demain. Ciao!